Can we manage a winning record with Iyslander in Commoner, or will we just be left out in the cold? Let's find out. Hi friends, welcome back to Nearly Sane Games. I'm Neil, and this is the Armory Report. This week's Armory is Commoner, and I took our Iyslander deck to see how she could do. Let's first take a look at the deck. All right, let's have a look at this deck. First, we're going to start out with our hero, as always. Iyslander has 18 health and is now a token. And Essence of Ice, if it's not your turn, you may play blue non-attack action cards from your arsenal as though they were an instant. And whenever you play an ice card during an opponent's turn, create a Frostbite token under their control. We will be using this and abusing this as much as possible. Because we like to get those Frostbite tokens. And because Waning Moon requires us to play a non-attack action card this turn before we play that. And so we'll want to Waning Moon as much as possible. It deals 2 arcane on our turn, but it deals 3 arcane on our opponent's turn. So our most important line of play is Arsenal card. Play that card from Arsenal and Waning Moon. And that is going to be the focus of this deck, is to play Waning Moon on their turn. But we're going to do some stuff on our turn as well. All right, so arm piece. We have Conduit of Frostburn, and we can destroy this, and the next card with an effect that deals arcane damage gains, when this deals arcane damage to a hero, destroy a frozen card in their arsenal. So, first we have to freeze a card in their arsenal, and then we have to destroy this, and then hope our next card hits. So, this is... this is difficult to actually make happen, but depending on our matchup, maybe it'll be easier against some of our opponents. But it also has Quell 1, so we'll most likely be just using this for the Quell effect. And then we have Glacial Horns. This can sacrifice this and freeze an ally or a card in their arsenal until start of next turn. This will be nice to be able to kind of slow down our opponent for a turn. Spellfire Cloak, we have Arcane Barrier 1, which is good for our wizard matchup. And this is also kind of half of a tunic, because we can sacrifice this and gain 1 resource. And only on our opponent's turn, but this is... this works out pretty well, and we'll probably want to use this in most matchups. And then Quelling Slippers, having a set of another set with Quell 1. Hopefully we can prevent a lot of damage. Some matches we're just going to want to blast them with an extra Frostbite. We can just destroy this and create a Frostbite token. Pretty good. Extra defense. Honestly, I'll probably be running this most often above our Conduit of Frostburn. I think having the 2 block is very relevant in Commoner. And then we have Null Rune. We should be running Arcane Barrier 4 against wizards if we run across any wizards. And then Quelling Robe if we decide we need more Quell instead of the extra resource. Then we have this available to us. All right, let's start getting into our deck. We're going to start with the reds. So the focus of our reds are going to be attack with this and then follow this up with Waning Moon. So I've built this deck with the plan of doing that with 1 blue. So you'll see that most of our reds are 1 power attack or 1 cost, because I also want to be able to Waning Moon with it with 1 blue. And this is why you won't see the high power ice arcane damage card, or the there's a fuse card that costs 2 as well. If it costs 2, it might as well cost 3 because it's going to cost us an extra pitch, and generally I don't want it. So we're going to focus on 1 cost and 0 cost attacks. So Aether Hail is just 4 arcane damage, plus the Waning Moon, that's an extra 2, so that's 6 damage. Aether Ice Vein. Now this one costs 3, and we need to fuse, but the effect is so good. First off, it's very unlikely that they'll be able to block the 5 arcane damage. They probably, I think a lot of decks are going to be running the Oasis, so maybe they can, but if they can't, then this is 5 arcane damage plus a discard, and that's going to be great for us. Frosting is just 0 for 3 to any target. Scalding Rain, again, looking to pitch a blue and swing this and our Waning Moon, so this is going to come in for 6 damage. 4 damage off this, 2 off the Waning Moon. Sink Below, this is just the all-star defense reaction. I feel like we should have a little bit. We're going to be doing some blocking here, and there's a lot of decks that are really fast now. So having a little bit extra blocks, being able to fix our hand, that's going to be an all-around win for us. Snapback only does 3 damage with a cost of 1, but we can play this on our opponent's turn or after playing one of our other attacks if we have extra pitch available. If we're playing a 0 cost attack like Frosting, we can follow up with Snapback and still follow up with Waning Moon. It's going to be very good for us. All right. This is not a wizard attack. This is Wounded Bull. Now, we start off with less life than our opponents. And my thought behind this was, if we're going for a 2 cost attack, it might as well be a 3 cost attack. And this one, if we have less life, comes in for 8. And that's a pretty good number for us. And it will also surprise our opponent. Our opponent, I'm guessing, will go Heavy Null Rune to be able to block us out. And if we're going to have a physical attack, coming in for 8 is going to be good. All right. Moving on to our blues. Again, same philosophy. We want to Waning Moon every turn. So if we're going to play a blue from our arsenal, it should cost 0 or 1. And we'll start off with Aether Dart. 1 arcane to any target. Now these any target 1 damage attacks are going to be important because we've got to look out for Dromai. And we need to consider the fact that they might have a lot of these little Aetherwing dragons. And so when we do that, having 1 damage to any target is going to be important. So we've got 2 of those. Aether Hail, 2 damage to any target. And again, with the Waning Moon, this will become 5. Aether Ice Vein, okay, it's the 3 cost attack. We'll probably be pitching this or blocking with this, but if we can get it off, 3 damage and force them to discard is going to be pretty good. We can get that all to happen. Amulet of Ice. This card is very strong. We end up fusing a lot of cards, although fuse is not as important in this deck because we're at common and we have less of the big Majestics that we're playing to fuse. But this is also good for tearing more cards out of our opponent's hand and can make life tough for them. Arctic Incarceration, on their turn, it gives them 2 Frostbite tokens for 0. Very good for us. Cold Snap replaces itself when we play it from Arsenal, and then potentially freeze their Arsenal card, which they'll usually pay for, but maybe not. Foreboding Bolt. Here's another 1 arcane damage card for 1, which is fine for us. And the Opt 1 lets us fish through our deck a little bit, and I think that's going to be important for us. Then we have a Frosting, a 0 for 1. Again, any target, which is great for us. Again, nice that it's an ice card. It'll also give a Frostbite. Icebind, again, 1 arcane to any target. The freeze is probably not going to hit, but if it does, great. Again, Scalding Rain. Still 3 block, but 2 arcane damage. Comes in for 5 if we have a blue with Waning Moon. Singe. I really like this one because, again, in the Dromai match, it is, we're looking to kill those dragons. And this one allows us to do actually 2 arcane damage for 1. And if it doesn't, again, the difference between a 1 cost blue and a 0 cost blue It's kind of like the same card for us, because we're probably pitching a blue anyway, so that we can Waning Moon after it. So dealing 1 arcane damage to their face and then Waning Moon them, all the same to us. Having the extra ability to kill a dragon is great for us. Winter's Bite. This is fun to play on our turn or on their turn. On their turn, it gives them a Frostbite token and makes them pay 1. On our turn, it definitely pulls a card out of their hand, but they may just buffer that for Arcane Block. And then Winter's Grasp. This is an ice action, and it blocks for 3, and it's blue. I know it costs 2, but we're probably not going to play this. This is probably only pitch, maybe in a last-ditch desperation. This does not allow us to Waning Moon after it, so it's not the best for us, but it's another ice card that we can use for fusing and pitching and all that good stuff. So that's the deck. All right, let's have a look and see how I did in my matches. We went 4 rounds this night, and my first round was against a Dromai. Arcane Barrier 3. Now, in draft and sealed, this is probably my worst matchup, but let's see how we do in Commoner. I start out with doing a Scalding Rain, Blue Scalding Rain for 2, and into a Waning Moon, and he blocks almost all of it, I believe. I think he does block all of it. And creates a whole bunch of ash, because he's pitching a bunch of red into that. Not the best. So he starts out with 3 ash, and I get no damage in. My next turn, I lead into a Cold Snap. I block 3. I'm able to red Ice Vein and pull a card from their hand as well. I believe they take the 5 and just discard a card. I'm able to, for Bolting Bolt for 1, get a little bit of an opt, and I use one of my Sink Blows, but I still take a pretty big hit on that run. He throws Spears of Surreality at me, and I'm able to pop it with my Wounded Bull. They use their slippers to get the action point back, rake for 3 Ash Wings, and swing 3 Ash Wings at me. And now I think we're down to, they're at 9, and I'm at 6. I'm able to Aether Hail for 4, plus a Waning Moon. Arsenal Foreboding Bolt, throw that and Moon 3 at them. And send over my other Wounded Bull, coming in for 8. They block 7. Now we're down to 2 and 2, and they're ready for their play. They pop their cross strap, and in response to that, I Aether Hail them for 2, Moon them for 3, and snap back them for another 3, and they cannot block that. So they are dead. My second round was against the Ira Pummel. Now, the Ira Pummel deck is my least favorite deck to play against in Commoner. I have had a very poor record against that. But they're running Arcane Barrier 2, so let's see how we do. We start off with a Wounded Bull for 8, which I don't think that they were quite ready for. But they block, and I'm able to throw out a Blue Aether Ice Vein fused, pulling cards from their hand, and throwing a little bit of damage in there. With this Arcane Barrier 2, that really gives me allows me to hit with all of my 3 attacks, which is great for me. But we get into a blocking match. I go down to 2. He's still at 12. And I'm able to pull down his life a little bit with a few hits here and there. But I get into full blocking with multiple hands. And things aren't going well. But then he draws an awkward hand. I believe he had a pummel in hand and didn't have a target for it. and I'm able to take a turn and block with a card and quell 3. I think I also used my arm piece for that turn, so I'm able to block the 5 power attack and then quell enough to keep cards in my hand. We get down to 2. He's at 2, I'm at 1. I'm able to throw an Aether Dart at him and also Waning Moon him for 3 and snap back him, and that's able to take him out. So a close match, but we got there. So I'm pretty happy with that matchup. Round 3 is a dash with Arcane Barrier 2. A lot of our aggro decks tonight. So I start with Scalding Rain and Waning Moon, and I'm able to get 2 through. Arcane Barrier 2 is a nice spot for Iyslander to fight against. I like it. I block the return, but I still take some damage in there. Dash is very powerful, especially at the beginning. I'm able to send over a Wounded Bull for 8, and he takes it. Another thing about Dash is that they really like their hand, and they can push a lot of damage, but they need the cards in their hand to do it. And if you start taking away those cards, then they can't output as much damage. So taking the 8 is great for me. I believe that knocked him down to 10. And I eat a bunch of damage in order to follow up with a Scalding Rain and a Waning Moon after that. I go down to 1, and I'm able to Ice Vein him, the red, for 5, and also take a card out of his hand fused. So we're both down at 1. I'm able to Frosting and Waning Moon him to finish him off. So round 4 was against an Azalea. This is the... right now we're both undefeated, so this is the championship match, and Azalea is running Arcane Barrier 2. I've had problems with Azalea in the past. A lot of her on-hit effects and really pumping up arrows gives me some problems. But let's see how we do here. We start with a snapback into a Waning Moon and throw over an Aether Hail and a Waning Moon after that. But then I eat 7 on a Dominated Arrow. I was able to block 3, and it was a 10 power arrow. Pretty disgusting. I'm able to throw a blue dart for 1 at them, followed up by a Waning Moon, and Arsenal and Arctic Incarceration. At this point, they whiff. They have a no arrow hand, and they basically have to pass and wait till next turn. So I hold off my Arctic Incarceration and send over an Ice Bind, which they block, and then I use my Glacial Horns to freeze their arsenal. Good tech against the Rangers. So they are pretty much arsenal pass there. I probably should have attacked there, and I didn't. I figured that my Arctic Incarceration giving 2 Frostbites was going to be good when they get back on their feet, and I wanted to have that available to me. So I throw another Aether Hail and a Waning Moon at them. They come back, and immediately I give them 2 Frostbites, but I go down to 3. And I get kind of an awkward, I had 1 blue and the rest red hand, which is not where Iyslander wants to be. But I had a Wounded Bull in hand. I was going to not get the Arsenal this turn, but I think that was going to be okay. I think I also used my my chest piece to sack that to give them a Frostbite as kind of a fallback for that. And then I'm able to swing the Wounded Bull for 8 at them with just 2 cards. And that puts them in a bad spot. They have to block that but they can't. That pulls cards from their hands. And again, Azalea is a card-hungry hero. Really wants to have all the cards available to them. So that puts us at 2-2, and I'm able to send over on their turn a blue Ice Vein fused, and they have 0 in hand, and that takes it out. So this armory, I was able to go 4-0, and I beat some of the most difficult matches I've had in the recent past. I'm very happy with that record. I think is common with Iyslander. People weren't quite ready for her and weren't quite ready for what she can do. But I thought focusing on getting a card in Arsenal was very good. Always having the less than 2 cost card in Arsenal so that we can pitch a blue, pay for that card, and Waning Moon every turn was the right call. I think that if I had some of the 2 cost attacks in there, it would just be throw me off a little bit. I think Aether Ice Vein is the exception, and I'm willing to pay the extra card for that because the effect is so powerful, and probably not getting the Waning Moon off during that turn, but having the discard there is really, really valuable, and I will sacrifice that option for that. But I think that the 2 cost Ice Bolt, the whichever the other 2 cost Fuse card is, I think those are important to leave out of there. I really felt like I always knew what I wanted to do, and I had a plan for all of that. I think if people start running Arcane Barrier 3 and Arcane Barrier 4, I think the matches get harder, but at the same time, we're still pulling resources from their hand and weakening their attacks, and allows us to defend better. So I think the plan is very solid, and I think that continue to look for Iyslander to be a threat in probably all formats. But I was especially happy with being able to do this in Commoner. I think our card pool is good, and this disruption is really strong. So until next week, I'm Neil, and you've been watching the Armory Report.